Hello everybody. Today we're going to do a couple of experiments that demonstrate some of the materials that we use here at SolEpoxy and some of the materials that we actually end up making. So the first experiment we're going to do is a bouncy ball. And if you've been on a SolEpoxy tour or if you've been in one of my summer classes, you've probably done this experiment. And it's really easy to do. The materials that you need are Elmer's glue. I get a big jug so I make sure I have enough. This is a bag of cornstarch. Regular cornstarch like you buy in a grocery store. This is food coloring, again, in the baking aisle of your grocery store. And then the last ingredient we need is borax. And again, you can buy this at most grocery stores. Now the borax is over here in a beaker. It's getting hot. You need to dissolve this in warm water. And I don't have warm water here, so I have a beaker on a hot plate. So we'll let that sit and let it get warm while we do the rest of the experiment. So the first thing you do is need a little bit of glue. So I have a cup here that I'm going to use to mix this up into. And you just want to put a little bit of glue, like maybe 1 ounce or so. You don't need a whole lot of glue. So that's a good little pile of glue. Good dab there. Okay, now you're going to take, so the glue represents the epoxy resin. And that's kind of the base of the materials that we make here. So there's our resin. The next thing we do is add filler to it. The filler adds functionality and can make the materials do different things and act differently. So our cornstarch is our filler. So we're just going to put some cornstarch into our glue. Now this cup was about half full to start with. I might use all of it, but I might not. So we'll put some of it in. And you want to stir it up. You want to mix it in well. And it takes a minute. But you want to stir it in there. And there you see it all kind of balls up on my stick. So you want to keep stirring. You want to get the filler wetted out. You want to get it into the glue. Okay, so there it's still, now that's still pretty runny. We don't really want it to be runny, so let's add a little bit more of our filler, our cornstarch, and stir it up again. Again, you want to stir it in really good. See, when you stir it quick, it just kind of all gets built up on the stick, but you just got to keep stirring it and keep wetting it out. And it'll get thicker and it'll get to a nice sticky consistency. And that's good. So there, that's a lot thicker. That's better. That's better, not runny. Now, you could continue to make your ball in just this kind of white color, or you can add some food coloring. So we'll take some blue, and we'll put in a couple drops. If you put in a little bit, it's going to be a light color. If you put in a little bit more, it's going to get darker and darker. I stir in my food coloring. You want to stir it in good. Unless you want it striped, I guess you could have it striped. So there we have our nice blue, kind of resiny filled resin system. So we've used 3 materials so far. We've used the resin, which is our glue. We've used a filler, and we've used a pigment, which is the food coloring. Now this isn't quite a polymer yet, which is actually what an epoxy is. To do that, we need to add something that's going to make this all come together. And that's where the borax comes in. So this is a warm solution of borax. Now the first thing I'm going to do is just take a squirt here and squirt it in. And I'm going to start stirring. And then as you start stirring, you might notice that it's going to start thickening up. See, there, it jumped all right onto my stick again. Okay, and actually that happened pretty quickly. Normally it doesn't go that quickly. Normally you have to add a couple of shots of the borax solution, the hardener, which actually makes the epoxy react together. So, I don't like to get messy, so now I have to take it out of the cup because I can't really stir it with my stir stick anymore. Okay, so I'm going to scoop all this material, and you can see it's a little bit striped, but I want it to turn into a ball, so I want to try and make it round. Whoops. And it's still a little bit sticky, so I need a little bit more borax. So I'm just going to kind of drizzle my hardener solution over my ball and work a little bit more. and try to get it to go around. And try to get it to go around. It doesn't want to round out. So I haven't done this a while, and maybe I'm a little bit out of practice, but that's why you do experiments, because sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. So, like I said, normally when you put the hardener in, it doesn't zap into a mass quite the way it did, but it did in this case. And what happens is once it starts curing into a shape, it kind of tends to want to stay in that shape. Epoxies are materials that are called thermosets. In other words, once they cure, they're going to stay like that forever. You can't really recycle them. You can't really reprocess them. They're pretty much done. So normally I would say this would be a ball, but it's not really a ball. It's kind of a blob. Well, if I work it a little bit more, it's kind of getting there. And it doesn't really bounce. So this was not a great bouncy ball experiment, but you can see how the materials all came together. There's certainly a reaction that's happened. You know, you certainly can't pull the glue back out. You can't pull the cornstarch back out. Things have happened to this mixture as you put it together. And that's what happens here at SolEpoxy. We take these different materials, we put them together, we make a material, and then the customers will take this stuff and turn it into actual parts.